There's a new paddle company making something fundamentally different. Not different in the we tweak the foam sense, different as in they're forging carbon fiber frames the way tennis rackets get made, creating a unibody structure that wraps around a honeycomb core. A new type of edge guard, no seam, no separate handle bolted on, just one continuous piece of thermoplastic carbon running from top to bottom. Full disclosure here, B Sports sent me all three shapes in their Runout Series to play and test with no strings attached. I'm not obligated to create content for them, and these are my honest impressions from extensive time with each shape. The retail price is $199, but you can get them for $180 with code MPB, which earns me a small kickback to continue creating content just like this. Look, let's cut right to the chase. In my opinion, and I'm an opinion of one, this is an okay paddle. I don't think it's great. I don't think it's amazing, and it's not the next best thing in pickleball. It's just okay. But what is genuinely impressive is the company behind the product and their capabilities. They're doing something different with manufacturing that nobody else is doing, and the fact that it's 100% recyclable and made in the USA matters. Also, just because this paddle isn't for me doesn't mean it won't be completely for you. If you're an advanced player with consistent technique who likes immediate, unfiltered feedback where every contact point feels distinct and intentional, you might appreciate what they've built here. If you're a beginner or intermediate player expecting any dwell time, cushion response, or forgiveness on mishits, this will frustrate you quickly. After playtesting all three shapes, standard, hybrid, and elongated, the defining characteristic became impossible to ignore. This is one of the stiffest, most rigid paddles I've tested this year, so let's dig into it. The Runout Series sits outside the usual Gen 1 through Gen 4 classifications because it's using a manufacturing approach that doesn't fit any existing categories, and that alone is super cool. B Sports calls it fusion fiber technology, essentially a thermoplastic forged carbon system that creates a single unibody frame and handle. I do wish I had some way to illustrate this, but the frame and handle are forged together as one continuous piece. There's no separate handle attachment, no foam cap, no edge guard wrapping around a finished face. Instead, the frame forms a complete loop around the paddle face and continues straight into the paddle, similar to how a tennis racket is structured. The result is a rigid, stable chassis with no edge seam or joint points where flex could occur. Inside that forged frame sits a standard honeycomb polypropylene core with 8mm cells, nothing unusual here. What's different is the foam treatment. EVA foam channels run from the lateral edges into the throat area. This is the inverse of what Yola does with their diving board neck design. Where Yola reinforces the top and sides to create controlled flex at the bottom, B Sports strengthens the bottom and sides, eliminating the flex almost entirely. The face is T700 raw carbon fiber with a peel-ply coarse texture attached to the honeycomb core before the whole assembly gets seated into the forged frame. The core and face are cold-pressed, which means the honeycomb isn't subjected to heat or pressure during assembly. However, the fusion fiber frame components are technically thermoformed since they're made in molds with heat and pressure. This is another reason why the Runout doesn't fit current generation terminology. It's not thermoformed in the way we're used to seeing with an edge seam and expanding foam. The full panel of core and faces get made first, cut to size, channel routed for EVA, and then everything is assembled. Every model uses a 12.7mm core thickness, the same as Paddletech's Bantam series, and a 5.5-inch handle. And speaking of the handle, as handles go, this one's pretty awesome. The taper is just right, the length works for both one-handed and two-handed backhands, and the 4.125-inch grip circumference feels neutral in the hand. The construction is 100% upcycled and recyclable, which is a first for a performance-grade paddle. The embedded carbon aesthetic on the frame looks sharp and feels durable. There's no paint to chip, no edge guard to peel, just continuous carbon weave that wraps the entire structure. The standard measures 16 by 8 inches and weighs 8.08 ounces with 110 swing weight and 6.5 twist weight. The hybrid is 16.25 by 7.6 inches, weighs 8.22 ounces static with 115.2 swing weight and a 6.4 twist weight. The elongated is 16.5 by 7.5 inches, weighs 8.07 ounces with 115.6 swing weight and a 5.95 twist weight. The standard serves at 60.3 miles per hour, punches at 39 miles per hour, and spins at 2,243 RPM with a firepower score of 77. The hybrid serves at 60.4 miles per hour, punches at 38.9, and spins at 2,215 RPM with a firepower score of 78. The elongated serves at 60.6 miles per hour, punches at 38.8 miles per hour, and spins at 2,232 RPM with a firepower score of 80. So these are fast serves and excellent pop numbers, competing directly with foam paddles on power output despite being 12.7mm honeycomb builds. The Bantam GTOC 12.7 serves at 60.5 miles per hour with 38.6 mile per hour pop, while the Bantam TKOC 12.7 serves at 59.5 miles per hour and 38.9 miles per hour pop. The runout matches or exceeds those numbers across all three shapes. The first thing that stands out is the contact feel. This paddle is stiff, not firm with some compression, stiff. Stiff and denser than a 12.7mm Bantam where the ball rebounds immediately with almost no dwell time. Contact is instantaneous. You get crisp, direct feedback on every shot, and there's zero cushion or plushness to smooth out the impact. Drives come off fast and linear. The serve speeds prove it. 60.3 to 60.6 miles per hour put these in the same ballpark as the Bantams. There's no trampoline effect, no sudden spring when you swing harder. You swing, the ball rebounds at a predictable speed, and you get exactly what you put into the shot. The power curve stays flat. Hit it 10% harder, and you get about 10% more speed, not some disproportionate jump. At the net, pop response is excellent. Punch volley speeds between 38.8 and 39 miles per hour put these well above average. Fast exchanges happen quickly because the paddle rebounds instantly with a short reactive bounce. Punch volleys fire back with sharp rebound control. It's the kind of immediate response you get from thin core paddles where the ball doesn't sink into the face before coming back out. Spin performance sits right around average at 2,215 to 2,243 RPM. The coarse peel-ply texture provides standard raw carbon traction consistent with T700 carbon fiber. It's not a spin monster, but it's predictable and reliable. You can brush up on drives to add rotation, and you're not getting free spin from the surface alone. Out of the box, drops felt inconsistent. I'd hit one that floated perfectly, then the next would sail long or drop short with what felt like identical mechanics. So the paddle doesn't give you much margin for error on touch shots. This is where advanced technique becomes non-negotiable. You need consistent mechanics and center contact to control the ball effectively, just like you would on any other 12.7mm paddle. After adding about 3 grams of weight on each side at the lateral edges, the paddle became noticeably better. The harshness smoothed out enough to make resets and drops more predictable. The added mass expanded the sweet spot and dampened some of the high-frequency vibration that made stock contact feel jarring. With weight, I can control drops more consistently and felt more connected to what the paddle was doing. One thing that stood out over multiple sessions, the sweet spot is small and unforgiving. Find the center of the face and you get excellent speed and control. Miss by 2 inches and the ball comes off slower with less spin. There's no gradual performance fall off. It's more like a switch. Good contact or bad contact, not much middle ground. The standard felt the most forgiving of the three. The 16 by 8 inch face and 6.5 twist weight made it easier to find the sweet spot consistently. The 110 swing weight kept hand speed high, which helped on quick exchanges. The 39 mile per hour punch volley speed was the highest of all three shapes, and the maneuverability made this the easiest to control. The hybrid balanced reach and forgiveness well. At 16.25 by 7.6 inches, it extends your reach without sacrificing too much face width. The 115.2 swing weight generated more momentum on drives. 60.4 mile per hour serve speeds prove that. The 6.4 twist weight sits in the middle of all three shapes. With 3 grams per side, this became noticeably more stable and easier to control. The Elongated gives you maximum reach and the highest serve speed at 60.6 miles per hour, but that 5.95 twist weight makes it noticeably less stable on off-center contact. Stock, mishits felt harsh and unpredictable. With 3 grams per side, it became significantly more playable while maintaining the reach advantage. This is the power option for players who can consistently find the sweet spot. The stiffness is everything with this paddle, and it's why this is an advanced player's paddle. The rigid, unforgiving response creates a sharp divide. You either have the technique to appreciate immediate, unfiltered feedback, or you'll find this uncomfortable and frustrating. The unibody forged frame eliminates flex at the edges and handle connection points. Most paddles with edge guards or separate handle attachments have some give where those components meet the face. The Runout has none. It's one continuous, rigid structure from top to bottom. The EVA foam channels along the sides add a slight dampening effect, but the overall chassis remains extremely firm. And this affects every shot differently. For drives and volleys where you want immediate rebound, the stiffness works perfectly. For resets and drops where you want the ball to compress and release with some cushion, it fights against you until you adjust technique or add some weight. And the small sweet spot compounds this. On a paddle with more dwell time, mishits get some forgiveness from the face compressing unevenly and still producing decent output. On the runout, mishits just feel bad. The ball comes off slower with less spin, and you know immediately that you missed your spot. So for advanced players who like crisp, direct response and have the technique to find the sweet spot consistently, this is a feature. You know exactly where you've made contact, you can feel every adjustment in swing path or contact point, and you get precise control over ball speed and placement. For beginners or intermediates who expect a softer landing or more margin for error, this is a problem that weight can only partially solve. You need consistent mechanics, reliable center contact, and the ability to adjust touch based on instantaneous feedback. At $199 or $180 with code MPB, the most direct comparison is Paddletech's Bantam series, which uses the same 12.7mm core thickness. The Bantam costs around $250 and competes closely on serve speed, and the Runout offers better stability through the unibody frame construction for around $80 less. So if I wasn't clear earlier about who this paddle's for, these paddles are ideal for advanced players with consistent, repeatable technique who can reliably find the sweet spot. If you prefer immediate, crisp feedback over cushion dwell time and you're willing to add weight for optimization, especially on the elongated, this will work for your game. But I think this is the wrong choice for beginners or intermediates who need forgiveness on off-center contact. If you expect soft, plush response on touch shots and are willing to customize with added weight or looking for maximum comfort stock, look elsewhere. So that's it. That's the B Sports Runout Series review. This is a rigid, unforgiving honeycomb paddle that demands advanced technique and consistent center contact. The standard shape is my pick. It's the most maneuverable and forgiving of the three. Use code MPB for 10% off at fnbsports.com. Let me know in the comments which shape you'd choose, or if you have any questions about how these compare to other paddles you're considering. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.